Diabetes.
And yeah, and you mentioned, for you, diabetes is in the family. And for a lot of us, even in my own family, we have diabetes in the family. So how can we support people in our family? Because like you said, we'll have events, we'll have rice, we'll have potatoes, we'll have plantain, we'll have chapati, and then the chicken stew has potato in it.
Yes.
Then we'll have dumpling, then we'll have a teaspoon of coleslaw or veggie. So how can we actively support people in our family when we meet up knowing they have diabetes?
There have to be alternatives. I was in Canada doing one of these events, and they brought out, after I finished the event, all this fry up this and fry up that. And I said, excuse me, where are the vegetables? And sort of some of the fruits and whether granary bread, if you're going to serve bread, all this hard dough bread and the whole heap of white rice and not even basmati rice, but just plain white rice. I said, well, lettuce, carrots, cabbage. When I was growing up as a child, my grandmother used to have the slippers right next to me, and she'd say, eat your vegetables. And I would say to her, Granny, vegetables, carrots, lettuce, cucumber, lady's fingers, beetroot. I would say, that is food for guinea pigs and rabbits. That's what they eat. She said, no, you have to eat them too. So I've become accustomed, because I was sort of not force-fed, but had to. But you have to have alternatives. You have to have options. Just like you'd have to have vegan menu, vegetarian menu. Yes, there are people there who will want, but less is more in terms of the portion sizes and take the skin off the chicken. Some people say, oh, that's the best part of the chicken. I say, well, you need to be able and go boil, bake, steam, grill, and roast. This whole heap of fry up straight is not doing our bodies any good. No. This whole heap of oils there, no. Boil, bake, steam, grill, and roast. Look at alternatives. When I used to go in the earlier days back in Jamaica, we'd go to Hellshire Beach. And then they would taste this thing, and it's called Festival. And I said, what's in that? They said they put sugar in it. What is wrong with fried dumpling or Johnny cake, or in some countries, they call it bakes? That in itself is good. And as a matter of fact, you can start the fried dumpling, the Johnny cake, or the bakes in the oven, beg your pardon, not in the oven, in the Dutch pot or in the frying pan, then transfer it to the oven. So when I go to Jamaica, and they said, this is sugar in the fried dumpling and the Johnny cake. I said, why? Oh, it's a new thing. I said, don't ever give me that. No. I just spit it out. They call it Festival. I don't know if you've ever tasted, but I think it's the most horrible. Nothing is wrong with fried dumpling or Johnny cake. It's one of the nicest things around. But again, moderation. You can't have that every week, you know?
No, yeah. And do you think any of the different ethnic groups really struggles with managing diabetes, and why?
Yeah, yes. The African and the Caribbean, because when I go to African groups, they say to me, I show them a slide where the man, his tummy is way out here, 42 inches, 46 inches. Beg your pardon, the woman, no, let me get it right. The woman is, and then the man is as skinny as a rake. In some cultures, they actually feed up their women folk to be that size, while the man is as skinny as ever. And when I speak to them, they say, oh, it's part of our culture. I say, that's a recipe for disaster. They are going to end up with diabetes. You all need to eat. I'm not saying people must go on diets. I don't believe in people going on diets, because you will go on a diet, and in 2-3 weeks' time, you fall off the wagon, and you think, and you give up.
Yeah.
A healthy, well-balanced diet is what I'm suggesting. So you have if you're a meat eater, you have your meat portions. And then apart from your meat portions, you'll have your vegetables, and you'll have your proteins, and you'll have your carbohydrates. But it has to be a healthy, well-balanced diet. And that's what I would aim for, more than when we go out and when we go to celebrate and so on. I know eating and coming together It's part and parcel of the culture of the African and Caribbean community, where it's a joint effort where everybody comes and shares and they partake of the wine and the beer and the rum and so on. But we need to be mindful. And if you're going to eat that, because now and again I will eat the hard bread, but I make sure, because my doctor says to me, Tony, I'm allowing you to eat 4 or 5 Julie mangoes at a time, not the average person, because I know by the next day, you're burning that off at the gym. You're not sitting down. The badminton, the yoga, the aquarobics, the swimming. You cannot, excuse me, be eating all these foods, which is still natural sugar, and thinking, oh, I'm just eating fruits, I'll be okay. You have to burn it off. Movement, movement, movement. You have to get up and do physical activity. Invest in it's actually called an exercise bike. My wife likes one, so we bought one for her. Right in the comfort of her home, she's there treadling away on the exercise bike. Some people have room for the mover, the travel data mover sort of thing. And don't, when you go to the supermarket, don't use the travelator in the supermarket. Park the car way down yonder, walk up to the supermarket, and use the steps. Your feet were made for walking. Please, if you can. I know some people have disability issues and mobility issues, and we'll have to use that. Those are not the ones I'm focusing on. I'm focusing on the ones. Ask yourself, do you have a travelator at your home? Do you have an elevator or escalator at your home? So why the dickens? You're going 4 flights, four stories up in the building, and you insist on using the lift. Make your heart pump the blood around by walking up those stairs. You'd have done yourself the world of good that way.
Yeah. And on that note of some cultural myths, like, oh, we have to feed our women, they have to be big, which are some of the myths that really irritate you when it comes to diabetes?
Yeah. I mentioned that one. Another one is sometimes they do the reverse, where they say, I can't have my man going out and looking skinny, because the community will say his wife is not feeding him. So some take the other approach and say, I have to feed up my man because I don't want people out there to be chatting how skinny or mager he looks. So that's another. So you might see a man with his belly in 44 inches, 46 inches, and you think, oh my gosh, no, that's way too much weight you're putting on. Also, another issue up there is people who are into fitness. These are men and women who are into fitness. Some of them go down the route. Yes, let me start with the people who are on medication, steroids for, like, just an example, asthma or bronchitis, and they have to inhale steroids. Those are mild steroids, and that's part and parcel of life, okay? Some people are on strong steroids and on strong steroids for life because of different diseases that they might have, all sorts of different diseases. And sometimes the steroids can impact or affect that organ, the pancreas, and cause them to have not type 1, not type 2, but steroid-induced diabetes. Now, Tony Kelly is clearly saying here, do not just, having heard this, say, oh my God, I'm going to have to put the steroids away. I can't be having steroids because I don't want to get. No, under supervision. But those are not the ones that bother me. The ones that bother me is the ones who I see at the gym, men and women, wanting to be Arnold Schwarzenegger or the Incredible Hulk. 1 week I see them Tracy and they're my size. 3 weeks later, they're like Incredible Hulk or the Arnold Schwarzenegger. And I say, well, how come you bulk up so quick? All the arms and the legs and so. They literally, bodybuilders, a lot of men and women inject steroids into their bodies in order to bulk up more rapidly, quickly. I am begging them to stop it, because once they get the steroid-induced diabetes, that's having affected the pancreas now, trust me, they can't get rid of it. They have it for life. So do it the natural way. Take 8, 9, 10 months to build up muscle, more than the quick fix approach.
Yeah, exactly.
You know?
Yeah. And then on that note as well, some people, what is your view on juicing? Because they'll put all the mangoes and the pineapple and the this. What's your view?
Yes, I'm glad you mentioned juicing. Stop juicing, whether it's fruit juice or whether it's vegetable juice, because I have the water and I'm going to demonstrate. First, you're supposed to chew your food So it forms into a bolus, B-O-L-U-S. That's the Latin word, which means ball. So you chew the food, whatever it is you're eating, the bread, the banana, the callaloo, the apple, you chew the food, there's enzymes in the mouth and the saliva and in the mouth do what they have to do. So it starts doing the digestive process, starts up there. That food you've chewed goes down into the stomach, and the peptic acids and the amino acids and whatever other acids in the stomach do what they're supposed to do and dissipate all what you've eaten around your body. If you go down the juice route, this is what happens. Nothing happens in here. The water, the juice, fruit juice or vegetable juice, passes here, goes down, right down into the stomach. It literally passes the stomach, no dissipating of it all around the body, and either comes out there, urine, or at the back passage. I am urging people, forget fruit juices. You might think you're having fruit juices and it's best. If you're going to have it 3 times a year, and beg you, don't buy the fruit juices that are in the supermarkets or food stores, because those are packed with sugar. And sometimes what you need to do for little Johnny and little Mary and little Sue, when they're not looking, and you're going to give them some apple juice or pineapple juice or orange juice from the carton, which are all packed with sugar, secretly dilute it with water. Please, just start doing that. Because if they keep drinking this sweet, 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 it becomes an acquired taste. And that's where they get the sweet tooth from, and keep doing it all the time. So do that. That's one of my tips as well. And another tip I'll leave with you is Black people on the whole and people with diabetes tend to have high cholesterol. It tends to go hand in hand with diabetes. My mother taught me, she said, you know what you do? Have oats porridge of a morning time, 2-3 times a week, oats porridge. And I'm not talking the Fosca oats or the Quaker oats, that fine oats that you get in the supermarkets, Fosca oats or Quaker oats. Go in the supermarkets where they have the thick rolled oats. It's very thick and it's rolled. Use that in your milk. And I'm going to talk about milk in a minute. Use that in your milk and make your oats porridge. That reduces your cholesterol. I'm telling you, it works wonders, as does eating the celery raw, just getting the celery and eating raw celery. But then I'll give you a little tip about milk. As grown adults, we need to cut down on our milk consumption. We need to go for plant-based milk, coconut milk, almond milk, rice milk, cashew milk, and oat milk. And I tell you why. A few years ago, I used to love full fat cream milk, not semi-skimmed or skimmed, the full, and then the cream on the top of the milk bottle. And I just drink a whole bottle of that. Then I drink, and then suddenly, a few years ago, I developed something called kidney stones. One of the most painful things is crystals inside of me, and I had difficulty. So I was rushed to the Queen Elizabeth Hospital, and the doctor said, tell me something about your diet. And I said, well, I have a lovely diet. And he said, what milk are you drinking? I said, full fat cream, cow's milk. He said, no. Cow's milk is for the formation of teeth and bones in babies and children. As adults, we don't need to drink cow's milk. Plant-based milk, coconut milk, rice milk, almond milk, oat milk, cashew milk. Admittedly, some of them taste very bad to start with. It becomes an acquired taste, and afterwards you get used to it. But the other types of milk are just for babies and children. And I try and get that message out there as well. Some people say, well, what about soya milk? The soya plant attracts a lot of pests. So they spray it with pesticides. And my understanding from the GPs is that the pesticides then go into the food chain and can be carcinogenic, or another word for carcinogenic is they can be cancerous. So if you're going to go for soya milk, go for organic soya milk where it's done organically produced and there's no pesticides sprayed on it, which is a normal thing. That's my only layback on soya milk. And then in supermarkets, the food shops and food chains, got food traffic lights. I must mention this. go for the more greens. Just like how red is for stop at the traffic light, amber is in the middle, and green, you're ready to go, you're safe to go. Buy products with more greens on them. The more greens you see on the product labels, the better. You can have some with amber because it will be less oil, less saturate, less sugar, less fat. One product I'll tell you to shy away from, and you can go and look at it, is Weetabix. It has green, 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 and green. 4 greens. That's very misleading, extremely misleading. It is packed with sugar, it is packed with salt, it is packed with you name it. Weetabix you should only have probably about 3 times a year. It is not good, and we're trying to get the manufacturers to remove those green labels because it is false, very false reading, and it's misleading to the public. Just like you shouldn't have diabetic jam. Diabetic jam, it says on the label, no added sugar. They are right, but it still has to be sweet, so they put sweeteners or saccharines in it to give it that taste for you to have. Go for, in small portions, normal jam. Nobody buy diabetic jam. And as for diabetic chocolate, that runs your belly, runs your tummy. Go for dark chocolate, 70 to 80 to 90% dark chocolate, made of cocoa beans. It will take you 3 months to eat a bar of dark chocolate. But the Cadbury's chocolate, which everybody loves, packed with sugar, it will take you 3 minutes to eat about 6 bars of those. You're doing your body no good by having now that sugar inside of you.
And even like you mentioned, like for Little John, Little Sue, you can dilute their juice. So what's your take on breakfast cereals?
Right. Cocoa Pops, no. Normal cornflakes, no. What's the other one they like?
Frosties. And...
yes, Frosties. All of those. I would go for shredded wheat, bran flake, muesli, and not muesli with added sugar. They have muesli which has no added sugar. So shredded wheat, bran flake, muesli, which other one is out there? If you have time to present to them, especially on a weekend, cornmeal porridge, very good for you. Banana porridge, even rice porridge. But certainly the ones that the Kelly's Frosties and the Cocoa Pops and the cornflakes, and the sugar pops and so on, those you need to shy away from, even for the youngsters.
Yeah. And earlier before you mentioned about how professionals need to be more maybe culturally sensitive. So how can they do this when working with the different ethnic groups that show up with diabetes type 2?
Yes, good question. But first of all, in the past they used, and some surgeons still don't have it, some surgeons still use what we call an Eat Well guide, which is a generic one, which has on it potatoes and all the British type food. And you think, well, hang on. No, they need to stop being lazy, and the dietitian and the nutritionist and the diabetic nurse and the doctors. On most websites now, even people listening to this, they don't have to get them from the nutritionist or the doctor. They have the Eat Well guide for the Asian community, which then shows them the Asian foods that they eat. They have an Eat Well guide on the internet now for the African Caribbean, showing yam and showing plantain and showing green banana and showing sweet potato. There are various versions of sweet potato. Off the top of my head, I can't tell you which. One of the versions of sweet potato, not all, has a low glycemic index. You have to do your research, people listening to this. And that one is far better for you than what we would call, the standard Irish potato or potato that is used a lot, the chips and the butties that are used a lot in Britain here. But that first start, getting the Eat Well guide is a good start, where people, so when a Black person comes into your office, your surgery or so on, you find out what their culture is like, and then you can do your research online while you're talking to them and say, well, have you thought, because a lot of these people out there don't know that the Eat Well guide is out there. It's up to the likes of me and you, Tracy, and others to make them aware that there are alternatives. You can't just put a generic Eat Well guide in front of a Black person. They're going to say, well, there's nothing on here that I eat anyway. What about the food that resonates with my community? So that's a cultural thing you have to go down. you need to look at issues of white bread, white flour, white sugar. In fairness, I like white people, but brown bread, and we're talking granary bread now, bread with granules, brown sugar in small portions, honey. And I go to some places and I see the honey, and it's literally just dripping out like water. That ain't good honey. You have to get honey if you're going to use honey as a substitute, which is thick, real thick honey. Once it starts running out like that, throw that away. That can't be good honey for you. That has all sorts of things diluted, and that is honey substitute. Trust me on that one, you know? But other cultural myths might abound in terms of don't just think everybody who is Black eats the same dishes. Because the African community, they might have different dishes which we within the Caribbean community are not au fait and familiar with. So you need to understand them. But one thing you certainly need to tell all Black communities, they've got to cut down on the frying, the whole heap of frying and the oil. We tend to go for the Mediterranean oil, which is the extra virgin olive oil. Admittedly, it is more expensive than all of the other oils. But what I'm going to ask your readers and viewers and listeners to not do is just buy olive oil. There are some fake olive oils on the market. If you're going to go buying olive oil, it has to say on it extra virgin olive oil. That is the real McCoy or the real deal. And of course, there's all sorts of different oils, vegetable oil and nutmeg oil and all the various other oils out there. We tend to just stick to the Mediterranean oil, but we do use as well coconut oil. I grew up in Jamaica. Coconut oil grows up. 1 minute the scientists say it's not good for you. Yeah. Then they change their mind and say it's good for you. Then they go back to saying it's good for you. It never killed any of us in Jamaica. So I'm afraid good old coconut oil is on our menu as well. But we tend to use extra virgin olive oil. And I cannot, although I said people must drink a lot more water, fruits, watermelon, papaya, oranges, grapes, satsumas, the more fruits you have in your diet, the better, because there is water in fruits and it keeps you dehydrated. And the older generation, a lot of them get dehydrated because they are not drinking enough liquids. I'm not here agitating that you must start drinking 6, 7, 8, 9 pints of beer or lager or stout or so on. More water, but also more fruits. And go for these 4: blackberries, blueberries, strawberries, and raspberries. Those 4 fruits, in terms of their fiber content, especially blueberries, and blueberries is available all year round. Trust me, because we have blueberries. Very good for you. And as for yogurt, low-fat yogurt. I'm talking yogurt where no sugar has been added to it. That's the yogurt to go for. And as a matter of fact, we go for goat's yogurt, because most yogurt is from the cow, so it's milk. But we tend to go for goat's yogurt as opposed to, because the cow will eat anything you put in front of it. Goats will only eat grass, nothing else.
Nothing else, yeah. Good. And so, earlier on, you mentioned sometimes when we go to the doctors and they'll look at you and they'll say, oh, you're okay. And, do they have X-ray vision? So what's the best way for somebody to advocate for themselves when they're not feeling hard?
No. First of all, it's best to take someone with you. If you're not able to, insist that the doctor send off a sample of your blood. You're feeling a bit down, a bit under the weather and so on. And straight away they might want to be putting you down the drug route. You said, no. Can we send off for blood? Because you might have this, you might have that, you might not. No, it's best for them to send off a blood sample and let the results come back and call you in and say, oh, we diagnosed or we found out you have you're lacking in you have pernicious anemia, or you have lupus, or we found out you had this condition or that condition. They cannot start, don't get me wrong, some doctors don't do that, but some doctors just immediately want to go down the big pharma route, which is wrong. They need to send off the blood and wait on the blood analysis to come back before calling you back in and deciding, now this has come back, you're deficient in vitamin A or in vitamin D or this, you need to go and look at your diet again, improve this, or you need to probably take some, because some of the supplements you can take. I take 2 supplements, over-the-counter supplements from Holland and Barrett and Boots. They said I had pernicious anemia a few years ago. And for that, they were going to, I would have to go to the surgery every 3 months for the rest of my life for an injection for lacking in vitamin B12. All vegetarians have to take supplements because vitamin B12 comes from one source only, animals. So if you're vegetarian, you ain't getting no vitamin B12 in your system. So I came home, looked up Pernicious Anemia Society website, and I thought, no, I'm not going to have an injection every 3 months for lacking in vitamin B12. So I went to Holland and Barrett, and on the Pernicious Anemia Society website, I got the Floradix, Floradix. My wife prefers the Metatone tonic. I started taking the Floradix. It has B2, B6, B12 in it. No preservatives, no colorings, no laxatives, nothing at all. And I did that. It comes in a bottle, 2 different sizes, along with 1 a day B12 tablet, 1 a day. And I went back to the doctor, and the doctor said, this is a few years ago, your B12 has gone back into the normal range and has remained there ever since. So I laughingly said to the doctor, so what the dickens you was wanting to juke me in my bottom every 3 months for the rest of my life? I've done it by doing it the natural way. And he said, well, yes. And I try to put that out there to people that you need to think carefully about before deciding, I'm going to go down the big pharma route or so on. And every time I go back, they say, your B12 is fine by taking the supplement. It's a healthy supplement. And a bit of advice to your viewers, listeners, readers. At Boots, they have it permanently. Buy 2, get the 3rd bottle free. Holland and Barrett doesn't offer you that, nor does all the other supermarkets I Cited. But at Boots, they do offer buy 2. It costs about 18, 19 pounds for the big bottle. So I always buy 2 and get the 3rd free. And then I get the B12 1 a day tablet. And I'm fine.
Yeah, excellent. Now, somebody will be watching you. They'll be so inspired. They want to speak about diabetes and be an advocate. But what would be your advice to them before they consider the work of an advocate for diabetes? Because it must have its own challenges. So
Yes.
what would be your advice for them?
Well, straight away, they mustn't try and suffer from burnout. I will get phone calls asking me to come and do an event tomorrow. And trust me, my diary is free for tomorrow. Yes. I am not lastminute.com. And therefore, I say to people, no, I already kept that date free in my diary. I have a family, wife, daughter, son-in-law. I have other things that I like to do and so on. I am not the be-all and end-all going to be doing this 24/7. So don't take any appointments which is sort of lastminute.com. You need to be conscious of burnout. Let people give you 2 weeks advice, 3 weeks of notice or so on before you take it home. And pace yourself. So I won't do Monday to Friday an event every day. Oh no. I might do an event on Monday. Tuesday, I keep it free. I might do an event on Wednesday. Thursday, I don't. And then Friday. So pace yourself. Start off small. When I started in the earlier days, back 19 years ago, I was unknown then, and people, are you a doctor? No, we don't want you. That's what they just say straight away. You're not medically qualified, so we don't. When my name, and I should say fame, started to spread, and people realized this guy's keeping it real. He's really in touch with what it's done for him, and he's trying to give that back to the community, having retired as a senior probation officer out there doing this, and doing it of his own accord, free, passionate about doing it. The word started getting around. There's some churches in Birmingham and further afield. They have me 3 times a year. They say they're always getting new congregants coming in, new members of the congregation. So they'll have me after Christmas, the start of the new year. They'll have me in the August. Then they'll have me November, December again. So be mindful. You're going to get doors slammed in your face. You're going to get lots of no's. That goes with the territory. People say, no, we don't. Some people write back to me and say, there's a church not far from where we live. We have enough medical doctors in our congregation. I'll never throw that email away. so we don't need you to come and tell us anything about diabetes.
Wow.
I thought, wow. Here's NHS and Diabetes UK giving me all of this literature, and it's not just my thing. I'm giving this stuff from their point of view. And they said, Tony, get out there into communities, because, and I haven't said this on this, but I'll say it now. I despise, I hate, I loathe the term hard to reach communities. Please put that in there. No community is hard to reach. When I go to these big events and I hear the academics and the consultants and the professors talking about hard to reach communities, I always wait until they finish their presentation and I say, excuse me, could you tell the assembled gathering who are the hard to reach communities? They're so bright and bold. The Africans, the Caribbeans, the South Asians, the white working class. Then I immediately respond, are they on Mars, Jupiter, in the rainforest, in the jungle, on Mount Everest, Himalayas? Please do not be so patronizing and condescending and insensitive by referring to people as hard to reach. Somebody said to me the other day, Tony, what you need to incorporate in it now instead, he said, they, as a CEO and the consultant and the academic, they're the ones hard to reach because they're locked up in their ivory tower behind their laptop. They don't come out and engage with people. I don't find anybody hard to reach. I go to the hairdressers, the barber shop, where they're playing the domino, where they're playing the cricket, the car boot sale. And I say, well, just like how Jesus came on earth and he went onto the beaches and into the marketplace and into the gambling places and wherever to go and find fishes of men and women. He didn't go into the churches and the synagogues and so on. He went out to the beaches and places where he knew people would gather to recruit people. That is exactly the approach people must take. If they want to be advocates or community ambassadors or diabetes community champions or whatever, they have to go where the people are assembled. So don't give me this nonsense about hard to reach. Historically neglected, historically ignored, historically excluded, marginalized, underserved, any of those underrepresented would describe our communities. But we certainly just got to Brixton, Toxteth, Lozells, Handsworth, you name it, you'll find the communities. I find them. And they also come and find me because, as I say, I wear these all the time and I get stopped everywhere. I'm like a hoarding advertising. And people say, hey, you work for diabetes? Yes. By the way, here, then I have the cards. Here's my card. Take it. And that's exactly how I get work. The card is either in my phone, which is what I'm taking out for you to show you now.
Yes.
Or if it's not in my phone, it's in my wallet. Or I have sometimes I don't have my phone on my wallet. I have them in whatever pockets. Sometimes my wife puts the hoodie or trousers in the lot. And she said, I didn't even look in there. And when it finished the wash, I noticed
it's all mashed up.
I said, don't worry. It's 5,000 of these are printed every time. If one gets,
you get more.
But yes, but people can become advocates and they want more people. I can't be the only person out there.
No.
Other people need to be coming on board. And don't be shy. Don't be, people said to me, Tony, but you're so forward and so on. I said, no, I wasn't as good as I am now when I just started. And of course, I probably made mistakes along the way. But start off, if you're going into it, start off with your health disclaimer. And sometimes you will have somebody in the audience you're addressing who might be a doctor or a dietitian or a community pharmacist. And they try and trick you and ask you, if you do not know the answer to a question, plain and simple, you're not going to look silly, say, I am not a healthcare professional, so I'm afraid you have to go and see your GP or go to the community pharmacist and get the answer from them.
Yes.
I'm afraid I can't answer that. So sometimes they try and trick me out, but people come up to me and say, Tony, you have a ready-made answer for them all the time. I say, yes, because whether they're there as a spy or whether they're, as a secret shopper, so to speak, to see whether I'm giving out false information. And so far, nobody has said, Tony, the information you have given out has been not right or so on. Nobody has ever complained to any of the people I work for.
Good. And so in your advocacy work, you're interacting with communities. So
that's right.
What's the importance of people, the communities also getting involved in the conversation on diabetes? Why should they get involved?
They should get, and they do get involved, and they ask me to pass things on to the hierarchy within the NHS and Public Health England and all the other places, because some of them in particular, one of the things that they don't do, a lot of people with diabetes do not, I find it hard to believe that they don't do it. Don't go keep their appointments. The number of absenteeism for the eye checks is alarming. They don't keep the appointments. And I said, listen, you have diabetes. You must go and get your eyes tested. And I said, oh, we don't. I said, well, if you leave it too late, you might end up getting blurred vision and go blind. So I advocate for people on the format, on the letter that comes back at the moment. Believe me, it's 5 years I've been doing this, and I'm determined to get them to change it. The letter says, control your blood glucose, the result letter, control your blood glucose letter, do this, do that. If you have any problems, see your GP and so on. Nowhere on the result letter does it say these two fundamental things. Physical activity and eating a healthy, well-balanced diet.
Yeah.
And I speak, I scream, I shout, and they keep on saying, oh, if we put the physical activity, older people will go and start doing exercise and fall over. I said, don't give me that. You're talking about asking them to do movement. You don't have to use the word exercise. You say physical activity. You break down as to what you're talking about. Just getting up from their seat and sitting down, using plastic bottles or baked tins or baked beans. You don't have to talk anything about exercise and so on. And eating a healthy, well-balanced diet. Why are those two no-brainers not on the letter?
The letter, yeah.
And I've been going on for 5 years. Up to yesterday, I was on a big meeting and I raised it again. They're saying, I left it till the end, and they said, do you have anything else? Because I contributed a lot. And I said, yes. When are you going to change the result letter? And they said, oh, Tony, you're going on again about it. I said, no, I'm not going on again about it. People out there in the community are asking me. They see me as the voice of the community. They themselves are saying they can't be bothered to go because they're not being heard. And if Tony isn't being heard, you think we're going to be heard? So that's something I say to people out there. And make sure you go, when you go to your GP, you mention it and so on. But the advocacy is fine as long as they know that they're passionate about it. They want to do it, but they don't make it become all consuming and take them over, you know. And they're doing it for the love of it, or for wanting to do it.
And in all your global workshops, all your 12 years of advocacy, is there a story, a success story that has just touched your heart?
Oh yes. I always repeat the story about my good friend. And he says, Tony, mention my name. I have no problem. Some years ago, on a New Year's Eve, I went to an event in Handsworth. And there was a chap there by the name of Ben Cunningham. He said, don't make them take it out. Mention my name. And I gave it, and he said, what inspired him was the fact that on New Year's Eve, you gave up of your time to come and speak to this Black group in Handsworth. And he said, by the time I finished, my New Year's resolution was I was going to start swimming again, because he said he was a good swimmer. I was going to start riding a bicycle, and I was going to walk more because he had diabetes in a bad way. And he said he did that. And he went to his GP for his to give his blood samples about the April, May. And the GP said, are we sure we got the right bloods back? And he said, what you mean, doctor? He said, but these are just so marvelous. Everything's down in the range it should be. No more. And he said to the GP, I met a man named Tony Kelly. And when he says jump, you say, how high? He moved me, motivated me so much. The fact that he was able to give up his New Year's Eve to come and talk to us, and how he managed to keep his under control. And I said, well, if it's good enough for Tony Kelly, and he was taking off medication. And every time he tells me the story, I really feel good. That
amazing. And before we go to the questions, so you've been on the King's Honors list. How does that feel for you?
Yes, that came as a surprise. It's the NHS Birmingham who had put my name forward before COVID. They've since found out.
Really?
So COVID was 2019 going into 2020. Okay. And they put my name. And I said, well, why did you do that? I said, well, you're all over the place doing it. And we get requests from. So they put my name forward without me knowing. and filled it in. And finally, in 2024, before the awards were announced on his birthday, the official birthday in June, a letter came marked Her Majesty envelope. And I thought, huh? I opened it and it said, the king is pleased to announce that we are going to give you a British Empire Medal for the work you've done on diabetes in the UK and abroad.
Amazing.
And I started asking, well, who the hell put me forward? Because my wife, they weren't aware of it either. But I then found out. And I know some people are not in favor of the whole issue of the empire. It doesn't ring well with everybody.
Yeah.
But I thought long and hard and I thought, well, these people, 4 different people had to send in testimonials, took up their time and effort to send this all in and big me up to the awards. And I thought, no, I can't just stand here or sit here and turn it down. So unlike some people who have, for whatever reasons, decided to not accept it, I decided, and it's not just on my behalf, on behalf of all the people that I've worked over the 12 years with out there in communities, it's an award for all of them.
Exactly.
I'm waiting on a date now to go and receive it.
Excellent. Amazing. Amazing. Congratulations.
Thank you.
So I only just have a few questions. So the first one is, so do diabetes classes really help manage type 2 diabetes? I think, you know, the ones the GPs can send you for.
Yes, I can send you to the National Diabetes Prevention Program.
Yes, program.
Those are for those who do not yet have diabetes. They have other programs for those who have. But now they realize there's about 1 million people walking around in Britain who are pre-diabetes, who need to go on these programs. And they last for about 8 to 9 months. Rigorously, you have to go either in face, person to person, or online, and with a proper diabetes expert, with a group, so you're not on your own, working through physical activity, working through food at a much, much slower pace, and trying you to wean you off becoming diabetes. So you're pre, and they want you to come down altogether, lower the blood glucose or sugar levels, lower the your fat intake, reduce weight if that's the case, etc. Be more physically active and so on. And it helps. So many people have been on it.
Okay, good. Yeah. And then the second question is, are there any services for young people with type 2 diabetes that offer support through methods like text messaging rather than phone calls? I think, yeah.
Right. No, and I'm glad you mentioned young people, because some people still have this myth. The cultural myth is diabetes is only an old person's condition. Let's just clear that up now. Probably when I was growing up in Jamaica, some of the elderly had it. Now, because of the lifestyle of the kids just on the PlayStation and the Game Boy and the tablet and the phone, and not doing any physical activity and sitting down for most of the day, and also on their way from school, eating a lot of the chips and the kebab and the pizza and the nuggets and all of this junk food, more children now in their age 13, 14, 15, 16 are developing type 2 diabetes because their tummies are getting much bigger. Now, there are Diabetes UK have sections on their website devoted to young people, so they don't have to feel embarrassed having to be with elderly people. So they need to sign up to join Diabetes UK and also go to the section which caters for young people, because young people, and they're into the various gadgets. So on. So social media. So they will find, as long as they don't go to the social media sites where the information might not be accurate, young people need to go to the NHS website or the Diabetes UK website. And they're into everything at the touch of a button at their fingertips. They don't have to go to the nurse or what have you. If they don't wish to, they can find all the relevant, up-to-date information on their mobile phone. Just like how they're listening to the different music and so on. YouTube thing and that and so on. But that would be my advice for them.
Excellent.
And then try and encourage their family. If they have it, they're the only one in the family who has it, they have to then put pressure in a nice way on their family to, Mom, Dad, you can't be doing these chips Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. Remember, I have diabetes. And they're gonna have to put pressure. I need more fresh fruits. I need more vegetables. And why all of this Coke? I asked for Pepsi and Coke and all of those fizzy drinks and so on. No, Mom, Dad, because once you bring it into the house, it's going to be consumed. So don't buy it, Mom. Don't buy that at the supermarket. I'm begging you. Because the temptation, if it's in the house and you're feeling thirsty, you're going to gravitate towards it.
Yeah, I love
it's
that.
a joint effort with
joint effort. Yeah.
Yeah.
And the young ones can put the pressure on. It's not to say because you're young, you can't say, you can't speak up. Of course, speak up. It's your health. Yeah. And then this one is saying, are there any tools or apps that can help me track my diabetes management more easily?
I'm sure there are. I'm not into tools and apps because of my technophobia. For those who don't understand, technophobia is technology. But there are lots of tools and apps. The Diabetes UK website will be able to sort of signpost them to tools and apps that sometimes people ring me, like the bank rings me or I ring the bank or so. But don't you have an app? And I said, no, not at my age. I'm not into apps and tools and so on. You can go to, you're waiting on them to come online. If you don't want to wait, go to the app or go to
or the website.
Think, they don't know who they're talking to. But the young people will know where to find the tools and apps.
Yeah. And then the last question is, how can I talk to my employer about accommodations or support for managing my diabetes?
That's a very, very good question, because diabetes is categorized as having a disability. It's an unseen one. It's not like somebody who has one leg chopped off, or they have polio, or they're completely blind, or wearing hearing aids. Diabetes is under the protected characteristics of the single equality scheme, whereby, so if you have diabetes and there's issues about, I need to have breaks to eat something to keep my sugar levels up, or what have you, or I need to come into work later, they have to make reasonable adjustments under the Equalities Act, or I have to leave early because I need to be home to do, or I must take a break now to go do my medication. Some of them say, well, you're working in, let's say you're working in a call center and you can't leave your desk. Excuse me? No, I have to go and do my injection, or I need to take my metformin. You need to not be shy and scared to let your employer know that you have the medical condition, and they have to put in, it's called reasonable adjustments, so that every employer has to do that. If they don't do that, they are discriminating and can be taken to an employment tribunal for discriminating under the act. So that's very, very important. I'm glad you raised that as a question. So some people are so fearful. If I tell my boss that I have diabetes, I will lose my job. Or I will put on lesser pay, or this and the other. No, you're still a human being and you have a medical condition. They have to treat you more favorably, the act says, than somebody who does not have any medical complaints or so. Very important.
Very important. Yeah. Ooh, Tony, I know the viewers will be inspired.
Well, I hope
and so. If they're thinking, I need to do something, what can you tell them today? What can they start with?
Right. Well, start with getting yourself checked. Let's say you don't know whether you have the condition. On the Diabetes UK website, there is a Know Your Risk tool. You put in your age, your gender, your ethnicity, your height, your waist circumference, and I'm not talking down the belly button, but from down the waist, the trousers. I'm talking from the belly button now. You put that all in, excuse me, and it can actually, that's a starting point, even before you go to the GP, and it can work out whether you are no risk, low risk, medium, or high. And especially the men and boys who think, no, I can't bother to go down to the doctor, or just start there. And if it puts you in the medium or high risk, because you put in your postcode as well, it signposts you to the nearest National Diabetes Prevention Program that you need to sign up to. Or you can then self-refer that way, or you can go and see your GP and say, I did this Know Your Risk tool. 2.9 million people have done that Know Your Risk diabetes, Know Your Risk tool, and have discovered whether they're no or low or high or medium. That's the starting point to see where are you on the scale. And if you find out, hang on, if you're already diabetes, then you need to make sure you keep your appointments for your eye appointment. Go get your feet checked yearly, get your bloods done. Don't just think that, because I'm not suffering or have any symptoms or anything, but if you're on medication, you need to take the medication. And drugs sometimes, I'll end with this, mask the problem. So some people think, oh, because I've been diagnosed as type 2 diabetes, I'm just going to take drugs. But they're still eating the wrong food and still not doing any physical activity. They have to be doing the physical activity and eating healthily along with taking the medication, if so on. Don't just sit there and say, oh, the medication will do it all for me. I'll be fine.
Yeah.
And that's where some people have that wrong perception that, oh, the metformin or the insulin will do its job, but I'll still eat the awful food or the wrong food and not do the physical activity. And that message has to be heard loud and clear. Definitely. It has to be the combination of the three. The medication, if you're on it, along with the physical activity and along with a healthy, well-balanced diet.
Excellent. And for the men, what can we say to encourage them? Please get checked, including prostate cancer.
Yes. Oh, yes. I can't.
What can we say?
Yes. Because some men have said to me, Tony, you've ended up by hearing you. I have now taken a different approach. It's trying to get rid of that macho manly thing where men aren't supposed to cry. They mustn't show their feelings. They mustn't show their emotions. That's for women. We must just be stoic and so upright and this, that, and the other. No, that might have been the 40s, 50s, 60s. We're now in 2024. Come on, wake up, men. Smell the coffee or smell the roses. That's why you have health nurses, health visitors, health practitioners out there for us to go to. Don't suffer in silence.
Exactly, yeah. And any final words?
But I enjoy what I do. I really do. And when people ring me, when I say to people, if I'm to do the presentation properly, it's an hour and a half. Straight away, they say, that's too long. That's too long. People are going to be bored. I say, you don't know me. You know me. I make it so it's not didactic where you just stand there and lecture to somebody for an hour and a half. You've been to one of mine and you see how engaging it is. And I make sure, and people say, you put jest, jokes, humor, everything in it and so on. So the hour and a half goes by so quickly. We could listen to you for another hour and a half.
I can attest to it because also for me, exactly what you're saying, when I had it an hour and a half and I thought that's so long. And for me, I'll be honest, sometimes when I'm watching even something for 30 minutes or 1 hour, my mind just goes into my to-do list and things I need to do. But I am not just saying because you're here, I genuinely enjoyed the presentation. I was listening from beginning to the end. And, you know, for me, with my background, I have a healthcare background, pharmacist background. But for me, even though despite my background, I was able to enjoy it and learn.
Right.
So for anyone who's coming to your events, I promise you, you will learn, you will be engaged, you will be inspired.
Yeah. And one thing some people do, I sometimes forget to mention, but some people in the middle raise their hand to ask a question. And I have to politely say to them, please, if you ask me a question now, it will break my train of thought and I might forget that. So, and then at the end, I say, the question I was wanting to ask, you've answered it.
Exactly.
So I said that at the beginning of my presentations when I remember, don't ask any questions of me because I'm almost certain whatever you're thinking of asking, it will be covered in the presentation. And 9 out of 10 times it is. And I then said to people, if they want it, if you want to come to me afterwards and ask me something privately, as long as it's not something which is meant for a doctor, medical, then. And I always, at all of my events, I take a lot of diabetes literature. Lots of diabetes literature for people. Those are given to me by Diabetes UK. Every literature under the sun. And it's for people to take away. Because some people are not into necessarily wanting to go do stuff online. And the older generation, they would rather have the booklet and the book and the paper in front of them and be able to read and digest it and go back to it and so on. So you have to cater for both books, both groups, I should say.
Yeah, excellent. So Tony, if anyone wants to follow you and the work that you're doing, the amazing work that you're doing, where can they find you?
All right. First of all, they can contact me on TonyKellyDiabetes@hotmail.com. That's my email address.
Yeah.
We have a second landline at home, which is, and that's only to do with diabetes. My wife, daughter, and son-in-law don't answer that. 0121 686-0440. So those are 2 ways. I'm on Facebook. My daughter put me on all of these. Facebook and LinkedIn and Instagram. Facebook, LinkedIn, and Instagram. So all you do is just type in Tony Kelly. There is about 24 pages at the last count on the internet, on Google. If you just put in Tony Kelly Diabetes, they'll readily find me there.
Excellent. And I'll also put it in the description, and I'll also put the Know Your Risk tool. They can just easily go and do it.
Yes.
Yeah. And then all your contact details.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. But thank you so much, Tony. It's
you're
been
welcome.
amazing. And I know people will be inspired and they'll start to do something wherever they are. And what you've said, you've kept it simple. Physical activity, eating healthy, balanced. If you do that, it is so possible.
So much easier. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. So thank you, Tony. And
you're
thank
welcome,
you to the
Tracy.
listeners.
You're welcome.
And don't go yet, because we have the next planning stage where we identify and overcome our blocks and barriers. So don't go just yet.
Right.
As always, it's a tradition of blocks and barriers to get you to identify the blocks and the barriers that are holding you back in this conversation of type 2 diabetes today. And to help you overcome those barriers, I do have some questions for you. What an amazing episode with Tony Kelly. So, and to leave you with is the true story that when it comes to your type 2 diabetes, it is possible to manage it so well. How well, it's for you to decide. But if you remember the 2 simple things, eating healthy, a healthy balanced diet, and keeping active, moving your body. If you do those, stick to your appointments, make sure you're being monitored in the same way you have your car serviced, or, so take care of yourself. And for the men, don't let your wives nag you. You're valuable. Your health, your body needs you to take care of it. And so any sign that your body is giving you, please do go and have it checked. It's strength and not weakness in seeking help or in just getting your body checked out. So you're feeling so excited, you're feeling motivated, Tony has given you all the tips and you're ready to go, or you're wondering, okay, I never knew this was possible. Where should I start? Or if you're feeling so overwhelmed, you feel like there's so many places that you need to start working on, or you just know you need help, then this is where I come in. Or if you've just started uni, you've just gone back to uni, and you're wondering as a young person, how can you manage your diabetes better you've just gone back to school, to high school, or you've just started high school. And like Tony said, sometimes you may find it difficult to speak out in your family for them to support you in the things that you eat, the things that come into the house, into the pantry, or you haven't been keeping to your appointments. You haven't gone for an eye checkup, you haven't gone for your foot checkup, or you just find it hard to advocate for yourself when you go to these appointments, or you don't want to restrict your life and you shouldn't. But when you go out to restaurants, when you go out with your friends, this is when your blood sugar levels spike, but you want to do something about it. Again, this is where I come in to help you to find ways to keep your blood sugar steady so you can live the life you want and enjoy it. You don't have to be restricted. You don't have to be a sufferer. You're not a sufferer of diabetes. So if you scan the QR code, come and let's talk. Let's talk about your biggest struggle when it comes to managing your diabetes so we can find ways to keep your blood sugar steady so you can eat healthier. Perhaps in the morning you've realized you're eating sugary cereals and that's why your blood sugar is spiking and you want to do something about it. Then again, this is where I come in to help you to find breakfast solutions that will work for you. If you're struggling with physical activity, then we can find a way for you to move your body in a way that you like. If you don't like the gym, that is totally fine. You don't have to go to the gym if you don't like the gym. So we'll talk about what you like, what activities you found work for you in the past, or we'll talk about the goals that you have set in the identify, overcome, and plan section. So again, scan the QR code, come, let's talk about the problem that you're facing. Let's solve the problem together and get you to lead a healthier, happier life without feeling restricted or overwhelmed. Before I sign off, I just want to make something very clear, and Tony has mentioned it already, and I just want to reiterate it, and that is on the issue of medicine. I'm a pharmacist by background, and I know many people are not keen on taking their medication. And when you've been inspired by this presentation by Tony, this conversation with Tony on managing your diabetes better, just like he's mentioned, you should not come out of any medications that you're taking. You should not stop any medication that you're taking. If you have any questions, if you have any concerns about your medicine, please talk to your pharmacist, please talk to your doctor and discuss what's going on. What are your concerns? Please do not stop taking your medication. So the word is from both of us, take your medication as prescribed. If you have any issues, do discuss them with your doctor, do discuss them with your pharmacist, but please do not stop taking your medication. And I look forward to seeing you on the next episode. Take care of yourselves and just start where you are.